Hello everyone! So today we are going to be continuing our Empires A to Z series and wrapping up Season A by turning Azerbaijan into an empire. Azerbaijan is a split nation, with the majority of its territory in the east along the Caspian Sea, which borders Iran, Armenia, Georgia, and Russia, as well as an exclave region called Nakhchivan, which is not only bordered by Armenia and Iran, but also has a small connection with Turkey. Azerbaijan has a population of over 10 million people, and the nation is dependent primarily on oil and natural gas exports to give it the 82nd largest economy in the world. Okay, so a few videos ago, I did Azerbaijan pretty dirty. If you watched the Armenia video, I pretty much let Armenia walk all over Azerbaijan and its allies. While that was unrealistic, it was necessary for the video to have any chance of becoming something. So for today, I'm going to let Azerbaijan have its revenge. In saying that, I'm not picking sides between the two nations' long history of conflict. I'm just trying to make good content. So to the people of Armenia and Azerbaijan, please don't get mad. With that out of the way, let's make Azerbaijan into an empire. Following on the heels of its victories over Armenia in 2020 and Artsakh in 2023, Azerbaijan has officially reversed the humiliations that it suffered in the 1990s, and is now undergoing a period of Azeri national pride that has never been seen before. Azerbaijan's current president, Ilham Aliyev, infects this newfound wave of patriotism to spread the ideas of his own Western Azerbaijan concept. This concept states that Azerbaijan not only should control its own territory, but it should also expand and destroy the nation of Armenia as a whole. This expansionist rhetoric spreads throughout Azerbaijan as the Azeri people come to see the lands to the west as those stolen by a tyrannical people that only wish to destroy Azerbaijan. With an economy built on a seemingly never-ending supply of oil and natural gas, Aliyev is able to modernize his military further. The Azerbaijani land force acquires more modern and capable main battle tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, and artillery pieces, while the Azerbaijani Air Force finishes its acquisition of multi-role fighters and also acquires a limited number of air superiority fighters. With his economy, military, and people ready for war, President Aliyev demands that Armenia transfer over the region of Sunak to Azerbaijan. Armenia refuses, and Azerbaijan declares war on Armenia. Azerbaijan's armed forces race along the Aras River into Armenia and take the towns of Shvanazor and Agarak to connect with Nakhchivan. A separate Azeri push a little to the north takes the towns of Shaki and Goris to help secure another connection and gain complete control over the Sunak region. Meanwhile, Armenia launches its own attack into Azerbaijan in the mountainous western regions near Karabakh. Anticipating that this would be Armenia's first move, Azerbaijan's border forces pull back to the abandoned settlement of Vang. Once the Armenians reach Vang, the Azerbaijani army ambushes the Armenian force and traps them in the tight mountain passes, where the Azerbaijani Air Force finishes them off. Back to the southwest, Azerbaijan starts an offensive out of Nakhchivan towards the Yerevan, but it encounters stout resistance from the Armenians, which halts the advance after the initial push. With the advance on the Armenian capital stalled, Azerbaijan starts a new offensive in the nearly undefended Caucasus region of northern Armenia. With this new front now opened, Azerbaijan exploits it to the fullest and takes much of the northeastern regions of Armenia before taking the city of Savan. This forces Armenia to pull troops to the northern front of the capital and allows Azeri forces to go back on the offensive to the south. With the majority of Armenian troops committed to the defense of Yerevan, defenses in northern Armenia collapse and Gyumri falls to Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan continues its grinding assault towards Yerevan until the Armenian government decides to surrender. The peace conference is held in St. Petersburg, where Azerbaijan takes complete control of Armenia, renaming it Western Azerbaijan. As the peace conference concludes, over 95% of the Armenian population hastily evacuates the region for nations like Russia, the United States, Georgia, and other various nations in Europe. Following the annexation of Armenia, the Russian-Ukrainian war hits its climax. A surprise Ukrainian offensive breaks through into the Belgorod Oblast of Russia and takes the regional capital of Belgorod. Already finding itself scraping the bottom of the barrel for manpower, Russian conscripts sent to contain the breakthrough begin to refuse to fight. News of the mutiny spreads, and tens of thousands of Russian troops desert from the front lines. Ukrainian forces counterattack along the entire front with major success and begin to retake much of Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia's command structure collapses and a coup against Putin occurs in Moscow, causing Russia to undergo a second civil war. In the confusion, several Russian republics declare independence, and Azerbaijan begins sending weapons to the people of Dagestan. When the dust finally settles in Russia, the nation is a shadow of its former self, as several of its federal republics have successfully gained their independence, including Dagestan. Azerbaijan and Turkey begin pushing investment into the region, and after several years, Dagestan holds a referendum where they decide to officially become part of Azerbaijan. With the Russian bear forced into hibernation, the balance of power in the Middle East is thrown completely out of whack. Oil prices skyrocket, and Iran's Islamic Republican Guard Corps begins seizing Saudi and Emirati tankers in the Persian Gulf while attempting to close the Strait of Hormuz. The United States Navy intervenes to try to force the Iranians to back down, but the IRGC launches a coordinated rocket attack on U.S. ships passing the straits. The attack results in the loss of one destroyer and severe damage to 2 guided missile cruisers, but the fleet manages to force its entry into the Persian Gulf anyway. Calling it an unprovoked attack, the United States declares war on Iran and begins building a coalition to help dismantle the Ayatollah's regime. Naming themselves the Gulf Freedom Coalition, the United States, along with various nations, including Azerbaijan and Turkey, join in with full commitments and declare war on Iran. At first, small border skirmishes take place along the Aras River in Talysh Mountains, but neither side commits to a full offensive. The first major attack is a massive assault by the United States, as hundreds of strikes occur from land, air, and sea assets based around the Middle East. This first strike destroys key Iranian military assets like Iran's command structure, ports, airfields, anti-air assets, no missile facilities, and army bases. The first strike is followed by a second strike, which targets key communication, energy, and transportation infrastructure. Iran's military capabilities are either destroyed or severely damaged. The United States then commits to an invasion of Iran. They take Keshem Island and then force a crossing to take Bandar Abbas. Coalition forces then funnel across the Persian Gulf and begin pushing the disorganized Iranian military back to create a secured beachhead. It is at this point that Turkey and Azerbaijan commit to opening a new front and push into northwestern Iran. Turkish and Azeri troops brush aside border resistance before taking Urmia, Ardabil, and Tabriz, before Iran's military finally reorganizes and begins to put up any real resistance. Coalition forces back in the south take Sirhan, Kerman, and Shiraz, before Iran's defenses firm up and slow down the advance. The absence of Iranian troops in the southeast allows Balochi separatists to rise up and begin taking control of several population centers in the region. Iran's IRGC begins its first attempt at a counterattack north of Shirvan, but American air power takes the bite out of the attack as it begins. Azerbaijan and Turkey push and take the cities of Rasht and Zanjan, but are stopped from moving further east. At this point, Iran's inability to push back on any front results in mass unrest in Tehran. The IRGC is unable to contain the protesters as they riot and storm the House of Leadership, overthrowing the Ayatollah. A ceasefire is declared, and Iran's civilian government capitulates. The peace conference is held in Paris, where post-war Iran is determined. To the southeast, the Republic of Balochistan is formed on the border of Pakistan. To the northwest, Iran cedes a territory north of the Safed and Gezel-Ozon rivers to Azerbaijan. The United States and the rest of the coalition oversees the Iranian transition to a more diplomatic government that brings enhanced stability to the Middle East. And that about does it for Azerbaijan. I think it's kind of obvious that I had to remove a lot of realism here after the Armenian portion to make this happen, but I'm pretty satisfied by the outcome, and I hope all those Azerbaijani people out there feel like you got your revenge in this video. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and if you would, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and tell me what you think of this Azerbaijani empire by leaving a comment below. Anyways, I'll see you next time as we start Season B by turning Bangladesh into an empire in empires A to Z.